Imagine standing at the edge of an endless sea of green, where towering trees and tangled vines swallow entire cities whole. Beneath that lush canopy, hidden for centuries, lie secrets of a vanished empire, stone giants sleeping in the shadows. This is Cambodia's jungle, and it guards one of history's most tantalizing mysteries, the lost temples of the Khmer Kings. You've heard of Angkor Wat, its grandeur etched into the sky, but what about the 30 others still waiting to be found? These aren't just ruins, they're time capsules blending Hindu gods with Buddhist devotion, built by rulers who shaped Southeast Asia. And right now, as we speak, archaeologists are peeling back the layers of the forest, uncovering clues that rewrite history. Think about that for a moment. In an age where satellites map every inch of the planet, how is it possible that entire temples, monuments meant to touch the heavens, could vanish without a trace? The answer lies in the sheer scale of the Khmer Empire's ambition. At its peak, this was a civilization that rivaled Rome, with a capital city larger than modern-day Paris. But when empires fall, nature reclaims its throne. Jungle roots crack stone, monsoons bury carvings, and legends fade into whispers. Yet every few years, a lucky explorer stumbles upon a staircase leading nowhere, or a carving peeking through the soil, and the world remembers there's still so much we don't know. This isn't just about lost buildings, it's about the stories they hold. Picture a temple wall where Shiva's dance is frozen mid-step, just inches from a serene Buddha in meditation. These places were where kings wrestled with the divine, blending two faiths into something entirely new. And the most thrilling part, some of these sites might be closer than we think. Recent expeditions have uncovered towers rising unexpectedly from rice fields, and local farmers speak of odd mounds that refuse to crumble, no matter how many monsoons pass. That's why this journey isn't just for archaeologists, it's for anyone who's ever wondered what else might be out there waiting. So let's step into the jungle together and trace the footsteps of the Khmer Kings before the vines swallow them again. The past isn't finished speaking. Are you ready to listen? Just a stone's throw from the grandeur of Angkor Wat, hidden behind a curtain of strangler figs and silk cotton trees, lies a temple so overlooked it might as well have been invisible. Prasat Ta Prohm Kel, small in scale but dripping with intricate carvings, was nearly erased from history, not by time but by sheer proximity to its famous neighbor. While millions flocked to admire Angkor Wat's soaring towers, this modest sanctuary sat quietly, its walls whispering secrets only the jungle could hear. Then, in 2013, a storm sent an ancient tree crashing to the ground, and with it came a revelation. Beneath the roots lay bas-reliefs so finely carved, they looked as if the artists had just put down their chisels. What makes this temple extraordinary isn't just its artistry, it's the spiritual dialogue etched into every stone. Here, Hindu gods and Buddhist iconography share the same space, not as rivals but as partners in a cosmic dance. On one panel, Vishnu reclines on the serpent of eternity, while just beside him, a meditating Buddha radiates serenity. This wasn't accidental. The Khmer Kings weren't just builders, they were diplomats of devotion, crafting spaces where both faiths could coexist. Yet despite its significance, Ta Prohm Kel slipped through the cracks of history, overshadowed by larger monuments. Even its name was nearly lost. Locals called it the Little Temple, as if it were an afterthought. But the jungle has a way of preserving what humans forget. When that tree fell, it exposed a section of wall depicting a procession of celestial dancers, their limbs frozen in motion for 800 years. The discovery sent archaeologists scrambling because these carvings weren't just beautiful, they were a puzzle. Why would such meticulous artwork be tucked away in a satellite temple? Some scholars believe it served as a private chapel for royalty, a place where kings could contemplate the divine away from the crowds. Others argue the site was a testing ground for artisans, a hidden workshop where new styles were perfected before being scaled up at Angkor Wat. Whatever the truth, one thing's certain: Ta Prohm Kel proves that even the smallest stones can hold the grandest stories. And if this temple was nearly forgotten, what else might still be waiting, half-buried, just beyond the tourist trails? Ban Tie Chh Ma sprawls across the Cambodian landscape like a forgotten dream, its crumbling walls guarding mysteries even older than the trees that twist through its stones. But the real enigma lies beyond the main complex: 8 satellite temples, each with its own story, swallowed by jungle and silence for centuries. Among them, Prasat Prom and Prasat Ta Prohm stand out, not just for their haunting beauty, but for the eerie, watchful faces carved into their towers, faces that stare into the ages with expressions no modern eye can fully decipher. These weren't just decorations, they were spiritual sentinels, blending the human and the divine in a way only the Khmer artists could conceive. Yet these temples might have remained lost forever if not for the brutal legacy of more recent history. For decades, the land around Ban Tie Chh Ma was a no-go zone, littered with landmines from Cambodia's civil war. Archaeologists could only stare at blurry satellite images, knowing entire temples lay just beyond reach, trapped in a deadly embrace of explosives and vine. It wasn't until the early 2000s, when demining teams finally cleared the area, that researchers could step into the shadows of these ruins, and what they found rewrote the map of the Khmer Empire. Prasat Prom's face towers loom like silent judges, their features weathered but still radiating an unsettling presence. Unlike the famous Bayon faces at Angkor Thom, these carvings are smaller, more intimate, as if meant for a select few rather than the masses. Some scholars believe they represent the Bodhisattva of compassion, watching over travelers on an ancient pilgrimage route. Others argue they're portraits of the kings themselves, immortalized in stone to keep vigil over their domains. But the most chilling detail: many of the faces are deliberately damaged not by time but by human hands. Was this religious revisionism, political erasure, or something darker? The jungle keeps its secrets. Then there's Prasat Ta Prohm, a temple so tangled in myth that locals once believed it was built by giants. Its central sanctuary is a puzzle of sandstone blocks, each carved with scenes so vivid they seem to move in the flickering light. Here, Hindu epics collide with Buddhist symbolism. Krishna lifts a mountain to shelter villagers, while nearby, a lotus-wielding Buddha offers serenity. But the temple's true shock came when archaeologists noticed something odd. The foundation stones weren't just stacked. They were interlocked with a precision that defied the era's known technology. How did the Khmer builders achieve this without modern tools? The answer might lie in the temple's alignment. During equinoxes, sunlight pierces key carvings at exact angles, suggesting these weren't just shrines but celestial clocks in stone. What makes these satellite temples extraordinary isn't just their art or architecture, it's their resilience. While Ban Tie Chh Ma's main complex was plundered for centuries, its smaller siblings survived almost intact, protected by their isolation and the very landmines that kept explorers away. Today, as researchers piece together their stories, one haunting question lingers. If these 8 temples were the known satellites, how many more might still be hidden, waiting for the jungle to yield its next revelation? The Khmer Kings didn't just build temples, they planted riddles in stone, and we've only just begun to read them. Rising from the dense jungle like twin sentinels, the temples of Angkor stand as a testament to architectural ambition and cosmic obsession. Prasat Thom, the taller of the two, stretches skyward in 7 terraced levels, its sandstone glowing amber in the sunlight. But it's Prasat Kraham, the red temple, that stops visitors in their tracks. Here, the bricks aren't just red, they're crimson, as if dipped in sunset, a color so vivid it defies 8 centuries of weathering. These pyramids weren't just places of worship, they were stairways to the stars aligned with celestial precision. During the spring equinox, the first rays of dawn slice through Prasat Tom's eastern gateway, illuminating a path straight to the central shrine. The Khmer builders didn't just observe the heavens, they wove them into stone. Yet beneath Prasat Tom's grandeur lies a rumor that's lured adventurers for generations, the legend of the golden statue. Local lore claims King Jayavarman IV, Khmer's enigmatic ruler, buried a life-sized gold effigy of the Hindu god Garuda beneath the temple's foundation as an offering to the gods. Treasure hunters have scoured the site for decades, some armed with shovels, others with ground-penetrating radar. None have found it, but in 2019, archaeologists discovered something perhaps more valuable, a hidden chamber beneath the temple's base, its walls inscribed with astrological charts so advanced they predicted lunar eclipses down to the hour. This wasn't just a hiding place for gold, it was a royal observatory where priests decoded the will of the cosmos. What makes these twins truly extraordinary, though, is their duality. Prasat Kraham's fiery hues mirror the volcanic laterite used in its construction, a material so durable it's outlasted the empire that shaped it. Inside, the walls tell a story of divine paradox. Carvings of the Hindu god Indra riding his three-headed elephant share space with serene Buddhas, a visual dialogue between two faiths. Meanwhile, Prasat Tom's summit offers a view that still takes breath away, a panorama stretching to the horizon, where the jungle melts into haze. Standing there, it's easy to understand why Jayavarman IV chose this remote peak as his capital. This wasn't just a temple complex, it was a declaration, a kingdom carved from wilderness and aligned with the gods themselves. And then there's the mystery of the abandoned city. Angkor was the Khmer Empire's capital for just 20 years before the court returned to Angkor. Why? Some blame drought, others point to cryptic inscriptions hinting at celestial omens. But the most tantalizing clue lies in the temple's alignment. Prasat Tom's central tower points directly to Phnom Kulen, the sacred mountain where Jayavarman's successors built their new capital. Was this a deliberate breadcrumb trail in stone or pure coincidence? The answer might lie buried deeper than any golden statue, waiting for the jungle to loosen its grip. For now, the twins stand silent, their bricks whispering secrets only the wind can hear. 15 kilometers south of the dramatic cliffside temple of Pre Vihir, shrouded in thick forest where the air hums with unseen insects, lies its mysterious twin Prasat Damre. Unlike its famous sibling, this temple doesn't crown a mountain or draw crowds of pilgrims. Instead, it sits quietly, its pale sandstone glowing like bone in the dappled light, earning it the local nickname, the White Elephant. But don't let its unassuming presence fool you. Prasat Damre isn't just another ruin, it's a mirror, a spiritual echo of Pre Vihir crafted with such precision that every arch, every lintel, even the angle of the staircases matches exactly. Why would the Khmer builders replicate a temple so meticulously in this remote spot? The answer might lie in the stars and in the sacred elephants carved into its walls. Walk through Damre's crumbling gate and you'll notice something uncanny. The layout is identical to Pre Vihir's but reversed, as if reflected in water. Where Pre Vihir faces north, Damre opens to the south. Where one temple's grand staircase ascends toward the heavens, the other's descends gently into the earth. Archaeologists believe this wasn't an accident, it was ritual architecture on a cosmic scale. During solstices, sunlight strikes both temples in perfect symmetry, creating a celestial bridge between them. Some scholars think this was a spiritual, twinning ritual where kings or priests performed mirrored ceremonies simultaneously at both sites, tying the heavens to the underworld. Then there are the elephants. Prasat Damre's name means elephant temple, and its walls are alive with them, some standing guard, others kneeling in reverence. But look closer and you'll spot a peculiar detail. These aren't just any elephants. Their postures mimic carvings at Pre Vihir, but with subtle differences. At Damre, the trunks curve slightly downward, as if drinking from an invisible stream. One theory suggests these were cosmic conduits, symbols of the mythical white elephants said to carry the weight of the world between realms. The Khmer revered elephants not just as beasts of burden, but as living bridges between the divine and mortal planes. The most tantalizing clue, though, lies beneath Damre's central sanctuary. In 2018, ground scans revealed a network of underground chambers, their purpose still unknown. Unlike Pre-Vihir's lofty perch, Damre sits at the base of a natural basin, a place where water collects during monsoons. Could these hidden rooms have been ritual baths used to purify priests before their ascent to Pre-Vihir? Or perhaps they held offerings meant to rise with the seasonal floods, carrying prayers to the gods? The truth may still be buried, but one thing's certain: Prasat Damre wasn't built in Pre-Vihir's shadow. It was its partner, its counterpart, a silent participant in ceremonies we've only begun to decipher. As the last light fades over Damre's pale stones, you can almost hear the echoes, the low chant of priests, the rustle of royal silks, the distant trumpet of an elephant long turned to dust. This temple doesn't just mirror Pre-Vihir's architecture, it mirrors its mystery, and somewhere in that symmetry lies a key to understanding how the Khmer Kings saw the universe. Not as a single plane, but as a balance, a dialogue between twin realms, each incomplete without the other. Deep beneath the still waters of West Barre, Cambodia's vast artificial lake, lies a secret that defies time. In 2021, sonar pulses slicing through the murky depths revealed something impossible. A temple untouched by the centuries, its sandstone walls still standing tall beneath 40 feet of water. This wasn't just a pile of rubble, it was a time capsule frozen in perfect preservation. Among the submerged pillars, cameras captured haunting footage. Lintels carved with Vishnu reclining on the serpent Ananta, the god's eyes closed as if dreaming the universe into being, just as Hindu scriptures describe. But how did an entire temple end up beneath a lake? The answer lies in the Khmer Kings' most audacious engineering feat, and a cataclysm no one saw coming. West Barre isn't just any reservoir, stretching nearly 8 kilometers long. It was the beating heart of the Khmer Empire's hydraulic system, a man-made ocean built to feed rice fields and cool an entire city. For centuries, historians assumed the lake was always empty until filled during the empire's peak. But the submerged temple tells a different story. Its architecture matches temples from the 9th century, meaning it stood on dry land for 300 years before the waters rose. So what changed? The clues are in the cracks. Sediment cores pulled from the lakebed reveal layers of volcanic ash, pointing to a massive eruption, possibly from Indonesia's Mount Samalas in 1257, that disrupted monsoons for decades. Facing drought, the Khmer likely flooded the area in desperation, drowning the temple to save their civilization. Yet the most eerie detail isn't the temple's preservation, it's what's missing. Unlike other ruins, there's no debris, no signs of collapse. The structure appears frozen mid-breath, as if the water gently embraced it overnight. Carvings of lotus flowers ripple with aquatic algae, giving them an uncanny lifelike movement in underwater footage. And Vishnu's cosmic slumber takes on new meaning here, his stone eyelids forever shut beneath the waves, guarding secrets in the silence. Local fishermen have whispered for generations about the sleeping temple, avoiding the area, convinced the gods still walk its halls. After seeing those sonar images, it's hard to blame them. Archaeologists now face a dilemma. To excavate would mean draining part of West Barre, risking damage to both the temple and the lake's delicate ecosystem. But leaving it submerged means its stories stay locked in the dark. For now, remote-operated cameras continue mapping the site, revealing more surprises. A staircase spiraling into the abyss, a courtyard lined with headless statues, and most perplexing of all, an inscription suggesting this temple was dedicated not just to Vishnu but to the lake itself. Were the Khmer worshipping the very waters that would one day consume their creation? The answer may lie in the temple's alignment, perfectly positioned to reflect the stars on the lake's surface during the dry season. A mirror for the heavens, now a mirror for the deep. Tucked deep in Cambodia's northern jungles, where the air hangs thick with the scent of damp earth and cicadas hum like a living current, Prasat Snokh Mao rises like a shadow against the emerald canopy. Its name means Black Fortress, and the moment you step into its courtyard, you understand why. Unlike the warm sandstone of Angkor or the crimson bricks of Koh Ker, this temple is cloaked in an eerie, dusky hue not from age or weathering, but from the very stone itself. Black sandstone, rare in Khmer architecture, forms every arch, every lintel, every exquisitely carved panel depicting the churning of the ocean myth. Here, gods and demons coil around Mount Mandara, their faces frozen in struggle, their bodies carved from stone so dark it seems to swallow the sunlight. But the real mystery isn't just the color, it's the temple's location. Snokh Mao sits on the edge of an ancient trade route once thick with caravans carrying cinnabar, the bright red ore used to produce mercury. For centuries, scholars puzzled over the blackened stone until geologists made a startling discovery. The sandstone contains traces of mercury sulfide, likely absorbed over centuries of exposure to vapor from passing shipments. The effect is haunting. The carvings appear to shimmer faintly under certain light, as if the gods themselves are stirring beneath the surface. Locals have long believed the temple is alive, whispering warnings to those who linger too close at dusk. Yet the carvings tell another story. The churning of the ocean seen here is unique, not just for its Inkai backdrop, but for its details. In most Khmer depictions, Vishnu presides serenely over the event. But at Snokh Mao, the god's expression is tense, his fingers gripping the serpent Vasuki like a sailor clinging to a rope in a storm. Even more curious, the demons on one side of the panel are carved slightly deeper than the gods, casting longer shadows as the sun moves. Was this a deliberate optical trick, a way to make the forces of darkness feel more palpable during rituals? Or did the mercury in the stone somehow react with tools, making one side easier to carve? The answers may lie in the temple's most enigmatic feature, a hidden chamber beneath the central shrine, its walls lined with narrow grooves. Recent scans suggest these channels once held liquid, possibly mercury itself, used in alchemical rites to mimic the mythical ocean of milk. What's clear is that Snokh Mao wasn't just a religious site, it was a crossroads of faith and industry. The same trade route that stained its stones also connected it to distant cultures. Hidden among the carvings are tiny, almost invisible markings, Chinese characters for metal and water, scratched lightly near the base of pillars. Were these left by traveling merchants, alchemists? The temple guards its secrets fiercely. Even now, conservationists battle a strange phenomenon. The black stone resists modern cleaning methods, as if refusing to let go of the mercury that birthed its legend. Perhaps that's fitting. In a land where temples rise like mountains, Prasat Snokh Mao remains the shadowy counterweight, a reminder that some histories aren't written in light but in the spaces between. When Tonle Sap Lake shrinks each dry season, revealing its cracked, sun-baked belly, two spectral temples rise from the mud like ancient sea monsters breaking the surface. Prasat Andong Russi and Prasat Kok Po aren't just built near water, they're designed to become part of it, their foundations sinking and reappearing with the rhythms of the monsoon. During high water, these structures vanish completely beneath the waves, known only to fishermen who feel their boat oars graze unseen carvings. But when the lake retreats, they emerge as islands of carved sandstone, their staircases leading to nowhere, their doorways opening onto cracked earth instead of polished floors. This isn't neglect, it's genius. The Khmer architects knew exactly what they were doing. Take Prasat Andong Russi first. Its central tower stands on a platform so precisely elevated that during the wettest years, water laps at the base of its carvings but never quite swallows them. The walls tell stories of the lake itself. Serpentine nagas coil around fish-tailed apsaras, their dance mirroring the annual flooding. But the real marvel is the boat landing carved directly into the temple's eastern face, its stone steps worn smooth by centuries of phantom footsteps. Archaeologists found grooves in these steps that match traditional Cambodian fishing boat designs, suggesting priests once rode right up to the sanctuary during ceremonies. Imagine that a temple where the gods arrived by boat. Then there's Prasat Kok Po, smaller but stranger. Its lintels depict crocodile-headed deities riding lotus thrones, a motif found nowhere else in Khmer art. Local lore says these figures guard the lake's deepest channels, and fishermen still toss offerings of rice wrapped in banana leaves toward the temple's general direction when waters run high. But Kok Po's true secret lies beneath its main shrine, a network of submerged channels that, when the lake is low, form perfect geometric patterns in the mud. Satellite imaging revealed these aren't drainage ditches, but a massive yantra, a Hindu mystical diagram meant to harness the lake's power. Some scholars believe the temple functioned as a spiritual battery, charging the waters with sacred energy each dry season before the floods came to carry it across the land. What unites these twin temples isn't just their seasonal disappearance, it's how they transform the lake into living scripture. The carvings at Andong Russi show Vishnu not on his usual cosmic serpent, but on a giant carp, floating atop stylized waves that match Tonle Sap's actual currents. Kok Po's bas-reliefs depict fishermen hauling nets swollen with fish, their bounty mirroring scenes modern visitors still witness every November. These weren't monuments to distant gods, but to the water's eternal return, a promise carved in stone that the floods would always come back, no matter how far they receded. Today, as climate change makes Tonle Sap's fluctuations less predictable, the temple's reappearances have become erratic. Some years, Kok Po doesn't emerge at all, leaving archaeologists to wonder if shifting sediments have permanently anchored it underwater. Yet when the lake does pull back, the exposed stones tell a new story. Modern graffiti left by 19th century French explorers, bullet holes from Cambodia's civil war, even fresh scratches where illegal dredgers tried to pry loose carvings. The temples still breathe with the lake, but now they bear witness to more than just the monsoon's rhythm. They've become calendars of change, their stones recording not just ancient prayers, but an entire ecosystem's struggle to survive. Prasat Pri Kon Kampong Svay sprawls across the Cambodian jungle like a whispered secret, its 4 concentric walls stretching over an area so vast, early French explorers dubbed it the Second Angkor. But where Angkor Wat draws crowds with its soaring towers, this complex hides in plain sight, its true scale only visible from above. Satellite images reveal a city within a city, outer walls embracing rice fields and reservoirs, middle rings guarding residential quarters, and at the heart of it all, a sacred inner sanctuary where kings once walked. The jungle has reclaimed much, but the stones still tell stories. One structure in particular, a modest building near the eastern gate, holds a mystery that's haunted scholars for over a century. Locals call it the Library Temple, though it bears no resemblance to Angkor's grand libraries. In 1860, explorer Louis de Laporte stumbled upon this unassuming building and made a discovery that should have rewritten history. His journals describe stacks of palm leaf manuscripts filling wooden cabinets, their delicate pages inscribed with gold and crimson ink. These weren't just religious texts, they included royal decrees, star charts, even what appeared to be construction plans for other temples. De Laporte sketched the library's layout and carefully packed a few manuscripts to send back to Paris. But when the shipment arrived, the crate contained nothing but dust. The humid Cambodian air had disintegrated centuries of knowledge in transit. When later expeditions returned to the site, the remaining manuscripts had vanished entirely, leaving only empty shelves and a lingering question: who took them? The library's architecture offers tantalizing clues. Unlike most Khmer buildings, its walls are lined with narrow ventilation slots, an ancient climate control system designed to protect fragile materials. The ceiling stones interlock at precise angles to prevent rainwater seepage, and the floor sits elevated on a platform of laterite, keeping the interior dry during monsoons. This wasn't just storage, it was a carefully engineered time capsule. But the real shock came in 2014 when restoration teams noticed faint markings on the library's doorframes, not Sanskrit or Khmer, but Chinese characters listing dates and quantities. Historians now believe this was more than a royal archive. It may have been a trading hub for knowledge, where Chinese merchants exchanged texts with Khmer scholars. What makes this complex truly extraordinary, though, isn't just its lost library. The entire site is a mirror of Angkor Wat's sacred geometry, just inverted. Where Angkor's central towers rise toward the heavens, Pre-Kon Kompong Svei's main shrine sits in a depression, its lowest level carved with underwater scenes. Some scholars speculate this was intentional, an underworld counterpart to Angkor's celestial symbolism. Even the causeway leading to the temple aligns differently. Instead of facing east like most Khmer structures, it points toward Phnom Kulen, the sacred mountain where the empire's first capital stood. Perhaps this wasn't just a second Angkor, but its shadow self, a place where the kings explored the flip side of divinity. Now the jungle guards its secrets tighter than ever. Looters have tunneled beneath the library, searching for hidden chambers. Satellite imagery shows strange rectangular depressions in the surrounding forest. Could these be the foundations of other lost buildings? Local villagers speak of a curse. Those who disturb the temple's writings fall ill with a fever no doctor can cure. Whether myth or coincidence, one thing's certain: Prasat Pre-Kon Kompong Svei isn't done surprising us. The manuscripts may be gone, but the stones still hum with the echoes of scribes long turned to dust, their untold stories waiting for the right eye to read them. Rising from the mists of Phnom Kulen, the sacred mountain where Cambodia's Khmer Empire was born, whispers persist of a temple that shouldn't exist, a structure so lavish its towers were once sheathed entirely in gold. Local monks speak of it in chants, calling it Prasat Kuk Trop, the temple that drinks the clouds. For generations, travelers reported glimpsing a golden glint through the trees during certain sunsets, only to find nothing when they searched. Even French colonial surveyors in the 1920s documented villagers' accounts of a pyramid-shaped sanctuary hidden near the mountain summit, but their expeditions turned up empty. Then in 2019, airborne LiDAR scans cut through the jungle's veil, and the legend took shape. The laser pulses revealed a perfect stepped pyramid buried under centuries of growth, its base aligning exactly with the cardinal directions. The scan showed something even more startling. Beneath the structure, a grid of tunnels fanning out like roots, matching ancient descriptions of underground conduits used to channel sacred waters. The LiDAR data tells only half the story. Ground-penetrating radar detected anomalies in the pyramid's core, dense, metallic objects clustered near what would have been the central shrine. Could these be remnants of the fabled gold plating? Historical records from neighboring temples mention a mountain of fire, likely referencing the way sunlight would have blazed across gold-clad surfaces. But here's the twist. Unlike Angkor's laterite and sandstone, Phnom Kulen's geology lacks natural gold deposits. Any gold here would have been transported piece by piece up the mountain's treacherous slopes, a logistical nightmare even for the Khmer. Some archaeologists speculate the metal might instead be bronze or copper alloy, oxidized green over time, yet local legends insist the temple's treasure was looted centuries ago by invaders who stripped the gods bare. What makes this phantom temple truly unique isn't just its missing gold, it's its spiritual geography. Phnom Kulen isn't just any mountain. It's the birthplace of the Khmer Empire, where King Jayavarman II declared independence from Java in 802. The pyramid sits at the intersection of three ancient pilgrimage routes, its position mirroring the mythical Mount Meru from Hindu cosmology. Unlike other Khmer temples that blend Hindu and Buddhist iconography, early carvings found near the site depict only Hindu deities, suggesting this might have been a proto-Angkorian experiment in sacred architecture. The most tantalizing clue lies in an 8th century inscription discovered at a nearby spring. It describes a ritual where priests poured liquid gold into a temple's foundation to bind the earth to the sky. Could this explain the LiDAR-detected tunnels? Some scholars believe they weren't just water channels, but alchemical furnaces where mercury, used to refine gold, was ritually circulated. Others argue the tunnels served a darker purpose. Recent scans show branching chambers that match descriptions of breathing temples, where echoes were manipulated to simulate the voices of gods. As the jungle resists excavation, clinging to its secrets with vines and sudden storms, one truth emerges: Prasat Kuktrop was never meant to be found. Its builders positioned it where earth and sky merge, where gold became sunlight, and where even now the mountain's whispers defy modern tools. The LiDAR scans give shape to the legend, but the real mystery lingers in what they can't reveal. What happened to the priests who once chanted here, or why a temple fit for gods was abandoned so completely that not even its stones remained in memory. For now, the pyramid sleeps beneath Phnom Kulen's canopy, its gold perhaps still waiting, its tunnels humming with prayers no living ear has heard. Stretching over a full kilometer along the sacred east-west axis, Prasat Bakan doesn't just dominate the landscape, it orchestrates it. Every step along its raised causeway feels intentional, as if the architects were choreographing movement itself. Unlike the compact symmetry of Angkor's temples, this sprawling complex unfolds like a slow exhale, its elongated courtyards and satellite shrines designed to prolong the pilgrim's journey. But the true marvel lies at its heart, a sanctuary with not one, but two parallel naves, a structural oddity that baffled archaeologists for decades. Why would a Khmer temple need twin halls? The answer emerged from rubble in 1935, when French conservators probing a collapsed wall uncovered something extraordinary. Behind the sandstone, sealed in a hidden chamber no larger than a closet, lay the shattered remains of a life-sized statue. The intricately carved face, though damaged, was unmistakable. Queen Indradvi, the Buddhist scholar queen who co-ruled alongside her sister in the 12th century. This wasn't just any royal portrait. The statue's posture told a story. One hand cradled a palm leaf manuscript, the other extended in the Vitaka mudra, the gesture of intellectual debate. Fragments of gold leaf still clung to the stone, suggesting it once gleamed like sunlight, but the real revelation was its location. The chamber wasn't part of the original design. Someone had hollowed out the wall centuries after construction, carefully sealing the queen inside. Was this clandestine veneration or something darker? The temple's dual naves offer a clue. Scholars now believe one hall hosted Hindu rituals for the king, while the other served as a clandestine Buddhist chapel for Indradvi and her circle, a sacred compromise in stone. Walk the length of those naves today, and you'll notice the stone underfoot wears unevenly. The Hindu side's flagstones are smooth as glass from centuries of barefoot traffic, while the Buddhist side shows only faint traces of use. This imbalance speaks volumes about the empire's spiritual tensions. Yet Prasat Bakan's genius lies in its harmony. The two naves converge at a single central shrine, where carvings of Vishnu and the Buddha share a lintel, their iconography deliberately blurred. In one relief, the Hindu god's four arms dissolve into the Buddha's robe folds. In another, lotus buds sprout from both deities' palms. It's as if the artists were whispering, these are not rivals but reflections. But the temple guards one last secret. Recent ground scans revealed an underground network mirroring the dual nave structure above tunnels that align with solstice sunrises. During the June solstice, light pierces through hidden apertures in the western tower, illuminating a submerged carving of the queen's face in the chamber where her statue was found. Was this an ancient memorial triggered by celestial mechanics, or a royal time capsule meant to resurrect her legacy at fixed intervals? The jungle swallows answers as readily as it does stones. For now, Prasat Bakan stands as both bridge and battleground, a kilometer-long testament to the Khmer's boldest experiment, building not for one faith but for the space between them. At Pre-Ko, the 9th century temple known as the Cradle of Khmer civilization, the stones don't just stand silent, they sing. Walk through its 6 brick towers at dawn when the morning mist still clings to the carvings and you might hear it, a faint, resonant hum lingering in the air like a half-remembered melody. But this isn't some trick of the wind. Recent experiments by acoustic archaeologists have revealed something astonishing. The temple's lintels and pillars emit distinct musical tones when struck lightly, each carving vibrating at a precise pitch. It's as if the entire structure was tuned like a colossal stone instrument. Take the central tower's doorway, for example. The sandstone lintel above it, carved with the face of the sacred bull Nandi, produces a clear D sharp when tapped with a mallet. The flanking pillars answer in harmony, their tones matching the intervals used in traditional Khmer pinpeat ensembles. This wasn't accidental. Microscopic analysis shows the builders selectively removed material from certain areas, subtly thinning the stone to calibrate its resonance. Some scholars believe priests used these tonal carvings during rituals, striking them in sequence to awaken the temple's sacred energy. Others suggest the vibrations were meant to mimic the mythical sound of creation, the primordial hum described in Hindu scriptures as the source of all existence. The most compelling evidence lies hidden in plain sight. Along the temple's eastern gallery, a series of carved apsaras, celestial dancers, each hold one hand in a peculiar gesture as if cupping an invisible object. For years, these went unnoticed until an ethnomusicologist realized something startling. The hand positions match exactly how modern Cambodian musicians hold mallets when playing the ronat, a xylophone-like instrument. It's a silent instruction manual frozen in stone for 1,200 years. In 2022, researchers took the experiment further. Using laser vibrometry, they mapped how sound waves travel through Pre-Ko's unique brick and sandstone construction. The results were revelatory. Unlike later temples where mortar dampens vibrations, Pre-Ko's dry stacked bricks create a network of tiny air gaps that amplify specific frequencies. During certain lunar phases, when temperature and humidity align, the entire complex enters a state of sympathetic resonance. Striking one carving causes others to vibrate in response, creating cascading harmonies that seem to come from nowhere. Local monks have another explanation. They whisper that Pre-Ko's towers are frozen music, not just designed to produce sound, but built from it. Legend says the temple's architect, a sage named Kavandraramathana, could shape stone by chanting. The carvings, just sheet music for songs only the gods remember. Whether science or spirituality holds the key, one thing's certain. At Pre-Ko, the line between architecture and artistry dissolves into something truly transcendent. The stones still remember their songs. All they need is someone to listen. High on the cliffs of Pre-Vihir, where the wind carries echoes from both Cambodia and Thailand, 2 temples stand apart from the rest, not for their grandeur, but for their grim legends. Prasat Yi 10 and Prasat Priest Thach, known locally as the Blood Temples, bear inscriptions that send chills down modern spines. While most Khmer temples celebrate life and cosmic order, these twins tell a different story. 16th century carvings explicitly detailing rituals where the earth drank crimson to still its trembling. This wasn't poetic metaphor. Archaeologists have found ceremonial blades buried beneath the foundations, their edges still darkened with iron oxide residue that matches sacrificial descriptions stroke for stroke. What sets these sites apart isn't just the shadow of violence, it's the precision of its documentation. A slab near Yi Ten's eastern gateway lists names, dates, and even the specific roles of participants in ceremonies held when the moon swallowed the sun. Historical astronomers cross-referenced these dates with eclipse records and made a chilling discovery. Each sacrifice coincided with a total solar eclipse, events the Khmer believed caused the Earth spirits to grow restless. The inscriptions describe how victims, often prisoners of war or volunteers from distant provinces, were positioned at cardinal points around the temples, their blood channeled into freshly dug trenches to feed the foundations. Forensic analysis of the soil in these trenches revealed abnormally high levels of hemoglobin even centuries later, yet the architecture itself tells a more complex tale. Prasat Priesthacha's central shrine incorporates an ingenious system of underground channels that converge beneath the main altar. At first glance, these appear to be standard drainage systems until you notice the shallow grooves carved along their walls, designed to direct liquid toward a single chamber. Inside that chamber, researchers found a hemispherical depression lined with gold foil, its surface etched with constellations. Some scholars believe this was a symbolic cup meant to collect offerings for the gods below, while others argue it served a practical purpose. The gold's conductivity would have allowed priests to monitor fluid levels during ceremonies, ensuring the earth drank its fill. The grim reality: this may be one of the earliest known examples of ritual hydraulic engineering. The most haunting detail, though, lies in the temple's carvings. Where other Khmer sites depict serene deities, Yi Ten's bas-reliefs show figures mid-transformation, human faces morphing into demonic visages, hands becoming claws. One panel portrays a procession where participants wear masks half human, half animal, carrying bundles that radiocarbon dating revealed contained actual animal bones wrapped in human hair. This wasn't random horror, it was theater, a carefully staged dialogue with the supernatural. Contemporary accounts from Chinese traders describe witnessing these ceremonies, where the boundary between performer and ritual dissolved into what they called the dance of binding. Today, the temples remain controversial. Local villagers still avoid them after dark, insisting the stones sometimes weep red during heavy rains, a phenomenon scientists attribute to iron-rich mineral deposits leaching through porous sandstone. But perhaps the most telling legacy is in the architecture itself. Despite their grim reputation, these temples have stood unshaken through centuries of monsoons and earthquakes, their foundations remarkably stable compared to other period structures. Whether by engineering or something far older, the earth here has kept its bargain, remaining eerily, unsettlingly calm. Prasat Tomon crouches on the knife edge of the Dangrek Mountains, its three towers silhouetted against the sky like broken teeth. This isn't just a temple, it's a threshold. Local villagers have whispered for centuries that its underground chambers don't end with the foundations, but spiral downward into a labyrinth so vast it could tunnel all the way to Angkor Wat, 160 kilometers to the southeast. The legends aren't entirely baseless. In 1998, a French archaeological team equipped with ground-penetrating radar entered the temple's lowest chamber to map the rumored tunnels. They were never seen again. The official report blamed a sudden cave-in, but the details raise more questions than answers. Only one body was recovered. A geologist found crushed beneath fallen blocks near the chamber's entrance, his equipment bag stuffed with hastily sketched maps showing a network of passages far more extensive than any known Khmer structure. Stranger still, his flashlight was still on, its beam illuminating a section of wall covered in finger marks, as if someone had desperately clawed at the stone. The other 4 team members vanished without a trace. Search teams later discovered a single boot print in the damp clay of an unexplored side passage, pointing deeper into the darkness. No one has ventured beyond that point since. Tamon's surface-level ruins only deepen the mystery. Unlike most Khmer temples aligned to cardinal directions, its 3 towers form a perfect triangle, their doorways angled toward 3 distant mountains: Phnom Kulen, Phnom Bok, and Phnom De, all sacred sites in Khmer cosmology. The central tower's lintel bears a carving unique in all of Cambodian architecture. a seven-headed naga not coiled protectively as usual, but plunging downward, its serpentine bodies dissolving into a chasm. Local monks interpret this as a map, claiming the naga's heads correspond to 7 subterranean chambers beneath the temple. But the most chilling evidence came in 2015, when a joint Cambodian-Thai survey team using sonar detected a vertical shaft beneath the central tower, its walls unnaturally smooth. The scan revealed something even more unsettling, a spherical cavity at the bottom, roughly 5 meters wide, with acoustic properties that distort sound. When researchers dropped a microphone down the shaft, the recordings came back warped, as if the space itself was swallowing echoes. One engineer described it as the opposite of an echo chamber, a room that forgets sound the moment it enters. What really lies beneath Prasat Tarmon? Some scholars argue that tunnels are natural karst formations, their paths coincidentally aligned with sacred geography. Others point to 12th century inscriptions describing the path of the bloodline, a possible reference to an underground route used by kings to flee invaders. Then there are the villagers' stories, tales of a lost Frenchman glimpsed decades later near Angkor Wat's western gate, his clothes tattered, his eyes vacant, muttering about the gods who whisper through stone. Whether myth or history, one truth remains: this temple guards its secrets with a fierce grip. Even now, as sunset stains its towers the color of dried blood, the mountain winds seem to carry something more than air, a low, rhythmic vibration like distant drumming from deep below. The gateway may still be open, but some thresholds are better left uncrossed. Buried beneath Beng Milia's labyrinth of collapsed galleries lies a ruin so enigmatic, even its name has faded from memory. Locals simply call it the House of Metal Leaves. In 1934, French archaeologist Henri Parmentier hacked through vines to reach the site's central pavilion, only to find the roof caved inward like a crushed eggshell. But it wasn't the collapse that stunned him. Strewn across the rubble were hundreds of thin metal plates, each roughly the size of a palm leaf, their surfaces pocked with green corrosion yet still legible. Some were stacked in neat bundles tied with wire that disintegrated at the slightest touch. Others lay scattered as if tossed by some ancient storm. When Parmentier carefully pried one open, the metal, a copper alloy mixed with trace silver, flexed slightly, revealing rows of delicate Khmer script etched so finely it resembled thread woven into the surface. These weren't just random artifacts. 13th century Chinese diplomat Zhu Dogwen once wrote of witnessing Khmer monks reading from metal books that never rot, their pages gleaming like mirrors in the temple shadows. Historians long dismissed this as poetic exaggeration until Beng Milia proved otherwise. The plates match Zhu's descriptions perfectly, from their unusual hinged design allowing them to fold like accordions to the cryptic content. Translations reveal snippets of star charts, medicinal recipes, even a bizarre account of fire rain that some scholars now believe describes a volcanic eruption in distant Indonesia. But the real shock came in 2018 when conservators discovered something Parmentier missed: microscopic indentations along the edges of each plate, forming a kind of tactile code. Blind monks could have read these by touch alone, suggesting literacy beyond sight. Why metal? The answer lies in Beng Milia's violent history. While most Khmer temples faced neglect, this one suffered deliberate destruction. Its walls bear tool marks from systematic dismantling. The metal books, resistant to fire and water, may have been a last-ditch effort to preserve knowledge. Some plates even show evidence of being salvaged from an earlier fire, their surfaces melted slightly at the edges before being re-etched. The most poignant is plate 217, which records a librarian's final entry. "The king's men are breaking the outer gate. We hide the words where only the worthy will find them." Today, only 38 plates survive in museums. The rest vanished during Cambodia's civil war, rumored to have been smuggled out in rice sacks, but ground scans hint at an even greater trove. Beneath the pavilion's rubble, sensors detected a hollow space lined with what appears to be lead sheeting, possibly a waterproof vault. The jungle guards its secrets fiercely. During the dry season, when the light slants just right, visitors claim to glimpse a coppery glint deep within the wreckage. Whether illusion or invitation, one truth remains: Beng Milia's library was never meant for kings. It was a gift to the future, written in metal because paper burns, stone crumbles, but some words refuse to die. Prasat Khnr Phnom emerges from the Cambodian lowlands like a forgotten beehive abandoned by some celestial swarm. Its outer walls pulse with thousands of small, hexagonal niches, each no larger than a human hand, carved with such precision that from a distance the entire structure appears to vibrate. Step closer and the pattern resolves into something even more extraordinary. Every niche contains subtle variations. Some arch upward like smiling lips, others taper to sharp points resembling lotus buds. This isn't random decoration. Archaeologists discovered these recesses still hold traces of candle wax and incense residue, suggesting they once flickered with countless tiny flames during night rituals. The effect would have been hypnotic, a temple that didn't just house the divine but seemed to breathe light. Then came the real surprise. During stabilization work in 2017, workers probing the waterlogged foundations unearthed 19 intact ceramic jars, their mouths still sealed with beeswax cloth. Inside, preserved by some alchemy of time and chemistry, lay thick amber honey still fragrant after 8 centuries. Laboratory analysis revealed pollen grains matching flowers that only bloom near Phnom Kulen, 30 kilometers away. This wasn't just any honey, it was sacred harvest, likely carried by pilgrims as an offering. But the jar's placement tells an even richer story. They weren't stacked haphazardly. Each vessel was nestled at the intersection of foundation channels that radiate outward like honeycomb cells, suggesting the honey was meant to seep slowly into the temple's bones. What rituals unfolded here? The niches provide clues. Unlike other Khmer temples where carvings depict gods, Khnr Phnom's recesses contain something startlingly human: miniature clay tablets etched with names, each accompanied by a single personal item. A bronze ring, a lock of hair coiled in leaves, even a child's milk tooth. Most inscriptions follow a formula: the blood remembers. Some scholars believe this was an ancestor shrine unlike any other in the empire, where families could physically embed their lineage into sacred architecture. The honey's role becomes clearer when you consider Khmer funeral practices, which often involved sweetening the mouth of the deceased to ensure pleasant dreams in the afterlife. Here, it seems an entire community might have symbolically fed their ancestors through the very walls. The temple's acoustics add another layer of mystery. When reconstructed digitally, the niche pattern creates an unusual auditory effect. Certain frequencies of chanting would amplify as they reflected off the hexagonal walls, while others dampened to near silence. Modern beekeepers note the same phenomenon in natural hives, where specific hums trigger worker responses. Was Khnr Phnom designed as a kind of spiritual apiary, its vibrations meant to awaken the enshrined ancestors? The honey jar's strategic placement along resonance points suggests someone understood this principle centuries before acoustics became a science. Now the jungle is reclaiming its secrets. Recent storms have caused sections of the honeycomb walls to collapse, revealing something even the archaeologists missed: thin gold wires strung between certain niches, long since broken but still glinting in the cracks. These might have once held miniature lamps or ritual objects, creating a web of light that mirrored the stars. As workers carefully extract the last honey jars for preservation, a question lingers in the sticky air. If this temple was the hive, who or what were the bees? Phnom Chisa isn't just a temple, it's a magic trick carved in stone. Perched atop a solitary hill in southern Cambodia, this 11th century sanctuary vanishes daily. Not from neglect or decay, but from the land itself conspiring to erase it. As dawn breaks, thick tendrils of fog coil up from the surrounding rice fields, swallowing the structure whole. For hours, only the faintest outline of its laterite towers remains, shimmering like a mirage. Then, as abruptly as it disappeared, the temple reemerges under the midday sun, dry and solid as if nothing happened. Locals have a name for this phenomenon, the breath of the ancestors. They say the fog isn't mist at all, but spirits returning to cloak the sacred site, ensuring it spends part of each day in their world, not ours. What makes this vanishing act more than folklore is the temple's impossible geography. Phnom Chisa stands alone in a flat, sea-level landscape, with no neighboring hills or mountains to explain the persistent fog. Meteorologists have studied the microclimate for decades, only to conclude the phenomenon defies conventional weather patterns. The morning mists rise even during dry season, clinging stubbornly to the hill slopes while the surrounding plains bake under clear skies. Some researchers suspect hidden springs beneath the temple release cold groundwater that collides with warm air, creating the perfect conditions for these localized fogs. Others point to the temple's unusual stone composition. Its laterite blocks contain high levels of manganese, a mineral known to attract moisture from the atmosphere. But the real shock came when satellite mapping revealed Phnom Chisa's secret alignment. Draw a straight line from its central tower due north-northeast, and it points directly to Angkor Wat's pinnacle, 350 kilometers away with near-perfect precision. The odds of this being accidental are astronomically low. Even more intriguing, the line intersects with Angkor at an azimuth matching the sunrise during the spring equinox, suggesting both temples were designed as celestial bookends. Some scholars believe Phnom Chisa served as a southern counterpart to Angkor's cosmic symbolism, a way for the Khmer to anchor their empire between two spiritual poles. Walk the temple's eastern staircase, its steps worn smooth by centuries of pilgrim feet, and you'll notice something peculiar. The carvings here don't depict the usual Hindu epics or Buddhist scenes. Instead, they show processions of figures holding what appear to be mirrors, their surfaces angled to catch the light. Archaeologists initially dismissed these as ceremonial objects until laser analysis proved the carvings match the exact angle needed to reflect sunlight toward Angkor's coordinates. Were these instructions for some lost ritual, a way to connect the temples across the vast distance? Local monks still perform a ceremony each equinox where they polish bronze discs at sunrise, though none can explain the tradition's origins. The temple's dual existence, vanishing and reappearing, earthly yet aligned with the heavens, reaches its crescendo in the central sanctuary. Here, the main shrine houses a rare dual statue, a lingam carved from fog-sensitive soapstone that darkens with humidity, flanked by a bronze Buddha that remains perpetually dry. Together, they embody the temple's paradox, solid and ephemeral, present and absent, a place where the Khmer architects seem to have bottled the very essence of transition. As the last tendrils of morning fog burn away, leaving the stones warm underfoot, you can't help but wonder, was this temple built to be seen at all, or was its true purpose only revealed when it slipped between worlds? Half buried in the undergrowth of Kampong Thom province, where the jungle thins into dry woodland, two temples stand as silent argument settlers in one of Southeast Asia's most heated archaeological debates. Prasat Tao and Prasat Yi Po the Lion and the Grandmother are the crowning oddities of Samba Pre Kuk, a 6th century city so old, its bricks predate Angkor by 500 years. At first glance, their octagonal towers seem like architectural misfits among the Khmer's later square and rectangular designs, but look closer and you'll spot the blueprint for an empire. Prasat Tao, the Lion Temple, gets its name from the weather-worn statues still guarding its entrance, their manes now smooth as river stones, their snarls softened by centuries of rain. Their real significance lies overhead. The temple's octagonal central tower isn't just a stylistic quirk, it's a masterclass in structural innovation. Each of the 8 sides is subtly concave, creating an optical illusion that makes the tower appear taller than it is, a trick Angkor's builders would later perfect at temples like Bayon. Even more telling are the brickwork patterns. Instead of the uniform rows seen in later periods, Prasat Tau's masons alternated thick and thin bricks in rhythmic bands, a technique that not only strengthened the walls but created mesmerizing shadow plays during solstices. When French archaeologist Henry Marshall studied the site in the 1930s, he found identical brick patterns at Angkor Wat's early stages buried under later renovations like a secret handshake between builders across centuries. Then there's Prasat Yi Po, its name honoring a legendary midwife said to have delivered a king under its arches. Here, the octagonal design takes a dramatic turn. The tower's interior forms a perfect acoustic chamber, where a whisper at the western doorway can be heard clearly at the eastern niche, an effect achieved by precisely angled bricks that deflect sound waves in a continuous loop. This wasn't just for show. Inscriptions found nearby describe rituals where priests channeled the voices of ancestors through the temple's walls. Modern architects have noted something even more startling. The angles of Yi Po's niches match the solar alignments at Pre-Rup, a 10th century temple at Angkor. Was this a trial run for celestial architecture? The controversy ignites over what these similarities mean. Traditional scholarship held that Angkor's architects invented their styles wholesale. But recent LiDAR scans reveal an inconvenient truth. Samba Pre Kuk city grid mirrors Angkor's earliest layouts, down to the placement of reservoirs relative to temples. Even the octagonal towers aren't isolated. At least 7 other pre-Angkorian sites show fragments of similar designs, suggesting the shape was a sacred geometry later abandoned, not a one-off experiment. Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the temple's mortar. While Angkor's laterite structures used a sand and resin mixture, Prasat Tau and Yi Po's bricks are bonded with a palm sugar-based plaster that fossilized over time, becoming harder than the bricks themselves. In 2018, conservators restoring Taprome discovered identical mortar in its deepest layers, a clear technological lineage, but the grandmother temple guards one last secret. Beneath its central shrine lies a subterranean chamber unlike any other in Khmer architecture, a star-shaped crypt with 8 niches radiating from a circular pit. When archaeologists first opened it in 2009, they found not treasure, but 8 miniature terracotta stupas, each containing ash and a single handwritten palm leaf. The writing, instructions for building an octagonal tower, complete with astronomical alignments and mortar recipes. Someone, it seems, left a manual for the future. Whether Angkor's architects ever read it remains one of history's quietest ironies, a prototype that outlasted its successors, whispering across the centuries to anyone who'll listen. Prasat Pre-Theatok doesn't just sit in the landscape, it performs. This U-shaped temple, with its crescent moon embrace of tiered stone seating, feels more like a stage set frozen mid-show than a typical Khmer sanctuary. While most temples funnel worshippers toward a central shrine, this one turns the script inside out. The audience platforms rise in 3 graduated levels, their surfaces worn smooth by generations of seated spectators, all facing a rectangular courtyard where carvings suggest something extraordinary, the earliest known depictions of Khmer shadow puppetry. Look closely at the bas-reliefs flanking the courtyard, and you'll spot figures unlike any other Khmer art. These aren't gods or kings, they're exaggerated, almost cartoonish silhouettes with elongated limbs and grotesque features. One panel shows a horned giant wrestling a serpent, its outline simplified to stark black and white contrasts, exactly how shadow puppets would appear projected against a screen. Nearby, another relief captures what looks like a puppet master mid-performance, arms raised as if manipulating rods, flanked by musicians playing instruments identical to those still used in Cambodian Esbektom theater today. The clincher, faint charcoal stains on the courtyard's flagstones, arranged in perfect circles, likely where oil lamps once burned to cast the shadows. The temple's acoustics add another layer of proof. Unlike the reverent hush of Angkor's sanctuaries, pre-Theotok's curved walls create a natural amphitheater effect. A whisper from the stage area carries clearly to the highest seats, while rhythmic foot stamping on the hollow platform stones produces a deep, resonant thump resembling traditional Chape music's bass notes. Archaeologists tested this in 2019 by recreating a shadow play using replicas of the temple's carved figures. The flickering firelight made the reliefs appear to move, their exaggerated features springing to life just as they would have 8 centuries ago. But the real revelation came from an unexpected source, the seating itself. Each stone bench slopes slightly inward, not for comfort, but to cradle small ceramic bowls discovered embedded in the masonry. Residue analysis revealed these once held a mix of coconut oil and crushed fireflies, a bioluminescent paste that would have made the bowls glow faintly blue during night performances. Imagine the scene, fire-cast shadows dancing across the walls, eerie blue light pooling beneath the audience, the air thick with the scent of burning sandalwood. This wasn't just entertainment, it was ritual theater where the boundary between performer and worshipper dissolved into something magical. Why shadow plays? The Khmer saw shadows as literal bridges between worlds, the flat, mortal realm and the multidimensional divine. Performances here likely reenacted episodes from the Reamker, Cambodia's Ramayana adaptation, where gods and demons battle through layers of reality. The temple's alignment supports this. During the equinoxes, the setting sun strikes the central stage at an angle that stretches the performer's shadows to towering heights, making them loom over the audience like visiting deities. Even now, when monsoon rains slick the stones and twilight lingers, you can almost hear the ghostly slap of leather puppets, the gasp of a crowd watching gods walk among them once more. Phnom Bok doesn't just crown a mountain, it guards it. Perched 900 meters above the plains, this 9th century temple has watched over Cambodia's northwest for 1,200 years, its 3 towers clawing at the sky like stone talons. But the view isn't what draws whispers, it's the curse. Between 1909 and 1932, 7 French archaeologists died here under circumstances so bizarre, their own colleagues labeled the site Le Temple Maudit, the cursed temple. The first victim, Henry Morger, collapsed during an excavation in August 1909, clutching his chest as if struck by invisible hands. His final journal entry, scribbled hours before, reads, "The statues have eyes that follow even in torchlight." Local monks could have warned him. For generations, they've refused to climb Phnom Bok after sunset, speaking of guardian spirits called Nik-Ta, who weave sickness into those who violate the mountain's balance. The French team dismissed these stories until the deaths piled up. Louis Finot, director of the École Française d'Extrême-Orient, recorded feverish hallucinations among his staff, with one architect swearing the temple's lintels reshaped themselves overnight. Then came the infamous 1932 incident, when surveyor Claude Jacques and 4 assistants vanished during a routine mapping expedition. Their bodies were found 5 days later at the temple's base, arranged in a perfect circle around a shattered statue of the Hindu goddess Durga. With no signs of trauma, their faces frozen in expressions of awe. Modern science offers explanations, of course. Geologists note the mountain's natural arsenic deposits, which could have contaminated the team's water supply. The temple's elevation also creates unpredictable wind tunnels, capable of producing infrasound waves linked to disorientation and dread. But the artifacts tell a stranger story. Every object removed from Phnom Bok during those doomed excavations met with misfortune. A 12th century lingam sent to Paris cracked spontaneously in its display case. Bronze ritual bells in the Gimmet Museum began ringing unprompted at dawn until curators returned them to Cambodia. Even photographs developed a peculiar defect, blurred streaks resembling grasping fingers near the central tower. Yet the mountain keeps its darkest secret hidden beneath the central shrine. In 2016, radar scans revealed a previously unknown chamber, its walls lined with lead. Local lore claims this is where the original guardian statue resides, a six-armed Vishnu figure allegedly forged from meteoritic iron, its magnetic pull strong enough to distort compasses. No one has dared excavate further. The last attempt, a joint Cambodian-Japanese team in 2019, ended when their drilling equipment malfunctioned spectacularly, spraying molten metal into the jungle. Afterwards, villagers reported an eerie calm settling over the mountain, as if something had been awakened and was now watching. Today, only the bravest guides will take visitors to Phnom Bok after noon, and even then they refuse to touch the stones. The few pilgrims who make the climb leave offerings of jasmine rice and palm sugar at the eastern stairwell, where the wind carries the scent downward instead of up, a phenomenon the monks say proves the spirits are still breathing. Whether curse or coincidence, the mountain's message is clear. Some ruins aren't meant to be understood. They're meant to stand silent and sovereign, reminding us that not every door should be opened. Kampong Thom's bustling market district hides a secret beneath its cracked pavement and motorbike traffic, a sacred avenue frozen in time, waiting for the modern world to stumble upon it. When construction crews broke ground for a new drainage system in 2020, their backhoes struck something far older than pipes, a 500-meter-long processional walkway of laterite blocks, its edges lined with seven-headed Naga statues still bearing traces of gold leaf. This wasn't just any road, it was the spine of Prasat Kuhak Naka, a sprawling city temple swallowed by urban sprawl so completely, even locals had forgotten its true scale. The discovery sent shockwaves through Cambodia's archaeological community. Unlike isolated jungle temples, Kuhak Naka was designed to thrive amid crowds. Its layout, a grid of shrines, libraries, and reservoirs, mirrors descriptions from 13th century Chinese trader Zhu Dogwen, who wrote of Angkor's neighborhoods where temples stood among houses like mountains above clouds. But here's what makes this site extraordinary. While Angkor's urban plan faded with the empire, Kuhak Naka kept adapting. 19th century French maps show monks still maintaining its central tower even as the city grew around it, making this possibly the only Khmer temple to function uninterrupted from the empire's peak to the modern era. Now, thanks to ground-penetrating radar, we know why the temple never truly vanished. Scans reveal a subterranean echo of the surface, a mirror city of tunnels and chambers extending 30 meters below Kampong Thom's streets. Some corridors align with modern sewer lines, their original purpose far grander. Inscriptions describe water jewels, an intricate system that filtered monsoon rains through sand and charcoal before channeling them into ritual baths. But the real surprise came when scans detected hollow spaces beneath the market itself, rectangular voids that match the dimensions of traditional Khmer merchant stalls. Could this temple have doubled as a sacred marketplace where vendors paid taxes not in coin but in prayers? The future of Kuhak Naka hinges on an unprecedented plan. Cambodian archaeologists working with German engineering teams are developing non-invasive mapping using muon tomography, the same technology that revealed hidden chambers in Egypt's pyramids. By detecting cosmic rays passing through the earth, they'll create a three-dimensional blueprint of the entire underground complex without lifting a shovel. Early projections suggest the site may connect to other temples via submerged causeways, hinting at a lost network of urban sacred sites. For now, the Naga-lined walkway lies protected under a temporary bridge, its stones still warm from centuries of barefoot pilgrims. Local vendors have started leaving offerings of jasmine rice near the construction barriers, not to the temple's original Hindu deities, but to the Buddhist bodhisattvas who later claimed its walls. It's a living testament to Cambodia's spiritual resilience, where even a modern drainage project can't sever the thread between past and present. The city built over Kuhak Noka, but the temple never stopped breathing. Banteay Pray's so-called glass temple shatters everything we thought we knew about Khmer craftsmanship. Tucked between moss-draped walls, this unassuming complex made headlines in 2019 when archaeologists brushing away centuries of dirt uncovered something astonishing: layers of colored glass fragments glittering like crushed gemstones across the temple's floor. Not scattered by chance, but concentrated in window niches and arched doorways, their placement revealing a truth that rewrites history. The Khmer didn't just carve stone, they painted with light. These weren't random shards. Spectroscopy confirmed the glass originated from two distant sources: cobalt blue fragments traced to Persia and emerald green pieces matching Indian coastal sand deposits. Even more startling, the edges showed precise cutting marks, proving artisans shaped them into panes before setting them in lead cames, a technique previously undocumented in Southeast Asia before European contact. Imagine standing here 800 years ago, watching dawn ignite these windows into fiery mosaics, casting sapphire and jade shadows across statues of the gods. This wasn't just decoration, it was alchemy. But the real mystery is why such innovation appeared in this modest satellite temple rather than Angkor's grand capitals. The answer might lie in the temple's patron. Inscriptions name a royal physician named Vidyapati, whose travels to Baghdad's glassmaking quarter are documented in Persian trade logs. Did he bring back not just knowledge but craftsmen? The architecture suggests a collaboration. Khmer masons built the frames with unusually deep rebates to accommodate thicker glass, while the window openings align with solstice sunrises, creating strategic beams of colored light. During excavations, conservators found a single intact pane near the central shrine, a crimson medallion depicting the Ayurvedic symbol for the eye, hinting the temple may have been a healing sanctuary where light itself was medicine. Recent experiments with reconstructed windows revealed another layer of genius. The glass wasn't just pretty, it functioned as a primitive climate control. Blue panes facing east filtered harsh morning rays, while south-facing green ones reduced glare. Ideal conditions for reading medical texts or mixing light-sensitive remedies described in nearby inscriptions. Even the fragments tell stories. Some show microscopic etching from acidic herbal fumes, as if the very air here once vibrated with experimentation. Yet the temple's brilliance couldn't outshine time. The glass likely met its end during 14th century Siamese raids, when looters stripped the lead for weapons, leaving the panes to shatter. But the jungle, ever an accomplice to history, preserved the evidence under layers of silt until modern tools could piece together the puzzle. Today, as archaeologists painstakingly match fragments like a celestial jigsaw, one truth comes clear: Banteay Pray wasn't just ahead of its time, it was playing by rules we're only now beginning to understand. Prasat Kuk trope hums with secrets not in whispers but in bell tones that shouldn't exist. Unlike the angular geometry of most Khmer temples, this 9th century wonder rises in a perfect circle, its curved walls creating an acoustic anomaly first documented in 1923 by French archaeologist Claude Dumontier. His expedition journal describes waking before dawn to an eerie metallic resonance, as if swung by invisible hands with no physical bells in sight. The locals had a name for it: the temple that rings itself. Modern audio engineers finally cracked the mystery, sort of. The temple's domed roof, a rarity in Khmer architecture, is perforated with 12 precisely spaced holes arranged in 2 concentric circles. When dawn winds sweep across the jungle at a specific angle, these openings act like the mouthpieces of giant stone flutes, generating standing waves that vibrate the entire structure at 32 Hz, the same frequency as distant temple bells. The effect lasts exactly 17 minutes, vanishing as suddenly as it begins when the sun clears the tree line. But here's what Dumontier couldn't have known. Those roof holes align with the 12 lunar months, and on the night of a full moon, moonlight passing through them projects a perfect celestial clock onto the temple floor. The real magic lies in the walls. Made from a unique sandstone composite mixed with iron-rich laterite, they amplify certain frequencies while dampening others. Sing a single sustained note inside the chamber, and the space seems to harmonize with you, adding phantom overtones that weren't in your original pitch. Acousticians comparing it to European cathedrals note one crucial difference where Gothic arches diffuse sound upward. Calctrope's circular design traps and swirls noise horizontally, creating a sustained reverberation lasting nearly 8 seconds. Yet the temple guards one last enigma. Beneath the main chamber, ground-penetrating radar revealed a network of branching tubes resembling the pipes of a massive organ. Some extend outward toward long-vanished satellite shrines, suggesting the entire complex might have functioned as a spiritual instrument. During excavations in 2018, archaeologists found bronze fragments in these tunnels, not from bells but from cylindrical wind caps that would have fit over the tube openings. Were the Khmer engineers manipulating acoustics on a scale we're only beginning to comprehend? Now the jungle reclaims its symphony. Moss has choked half the roof holes, and decades of bat guano in the upper chambers have altered the acoustics. But on certain mornings, when the wind blows just right through the remaining apertures, the stone still remembers its song. The bells ring without metal, the walls sing without voices, and for a few fleeting moments, 8 centuries collapse into a single shimmering note. Hidden deep in the jungles of Takeo province, 2 unassuming temples hold secrets that rewrite the history of medicine in Southeast Asia. Prasat Trapang Phong and Prasat Ta En might lack the grandeur of Angkor's towering spires, but their walls tell stories more revolutionary than any epic battle. Carved not with gods, but with scalpels, bone saws, and the delicate dance of healing hands. These are the medical temples where stone became scripture and sanctuary doubled as surgical theater. Walk through Trapang Phong's narrow doorway, and you'll find its inner sanctum lined with something extraordinary. Bas-reliefs of anatomical diagrams so precise they could have been lifted from a modern textbook. One panel shows the human nervous system rendered in astonishing detail, with nerve pathways branching like rivers across a relief map. Another depicts organ placement, the kidneys and liver positioned with accuracy that defies 9th century understanding. But the real shock comes near the eastern wall, a life-sized carving of a Caesarean section in progress, the earliest known depiction in the region. The mother's face is serene, her hands resting on her abdomen as 2 figures work with tools unmistakably resembling modern forceps and retractors. What's chilling is the realism. The incision follows the exact lower uterine segment technique still used today to minimize bleeding. How did the Khmer develop such advanced knowledge? The answer might lie 40 kilometers north at Prasat Ta En, where excavations uncovered ceramic jars filled with surgical instruments, bronze scalpels with obsidian edges still sharp enough to split hair, curved needles threaded with silk preserved by time, even a trephination drill for brain surgery. These weren't ceremonial objects. Microscopic analysis revealed telltale wear patterns from repeated use, along with residue from ancient anesthetics, traces of cannabis, opium, and a mysterious compound derived from crocodile bile. The temple's inscriptions confirm its role as a healing center, with records listing successful procedures from tumor removals to cataract surgeries, each carefully dated and witnessed. But the true genius of these temples lies in their fusion of science and spirit. Ta En's central shrine houses a unique statue, a 4-armed Vishnu holding not the usual cosmic symbols, but medicinal herbs in 3 hands, while the 4th makes the Abhaya Mudra, the gesture of reassurance. Surrounding carvings show what appear to be early clinical trials, figures administering different herbal preparations to groups of patients while scribes record outcomes. This wasn't just medicine, it was evidence-based research conducted under divine auspices. Even the architecture served healing purposes. The temple's precise orientation creates natural ventilation that would have minimized infection risk, while strategically placed pools provided sterile water for procedures. Perhaps most moving are the smaller carvings at floor level, hundreds of personal votives left by patients. Some show hands folded in gratitude, others depict specific ailments cured, from clubfoot to goiter. One recurring motif is a mother and child, often placed near the Caesarean relief, silent testimonials to lives saved through knowledge carved in stone. These temples remind us that the Khmer legacy isn't just in conquests or monuments, but in the quieter revolutions of needle and suture, where compassion walked hand in hand with innovation. The jungle may have reclaimed their walls, but their lessons still pulse, timeless as a heartbeat, sharp as a scalpel's edge. Wat Phnom's so-called time temple doesn't just track the sun, it seems to chew it up and spit it back out as shadow. On the western wall of this 11th century sanctuary, 365 carved figures stand shoulder to shoulder, each no taller than a human hand, their weathered sandstone faces locked in silent procession. At first glance, they appear decorative until you notice the precision of their placement. The figures are spaced at intervals so exact, the noonday sun strikes each one sequentially over the course of a year, their elongated shadows creeping across a calibrated groove at the base like the world's slowest sundial. But here's where the controversy ignites. Are these mere ornaments, or did the Khmer architects encode an entire calendar in stone? The evidence tilts toward intentional design. During the summer solstice, sunlight aligns perfectly with a cluster of figures wearing distinctive horned headdresses, a motif scholars link to the Hindu god Surya's solar chariot. Come winter solstice, the light shifts to illuminate a group carved with fish scale patterns, likely symbolizing the monsoon's return. Even the wall's curvature plays a role. Its slight convex bulge corrects for seasonal variations in the sun's arc, ensuring shadows fall true year-round. French archaeologist Georges Trouvé noted in 1936 that the figures aren't uniformly spaced. Their gaps widen slightly toward the edges, possibly accounting for the Khmer lunisolar calendar's occasional leap months. Skeptics argue the calendar is coincidental. Art historian Dr. Helena Vongsak contends the carvings simply depict the Khmer version of the Hindu Vasus, minor deities representing natural elements arranged for aesthetic balance. She points to similar rows of figures at Banteay Chh Ma, where no calendrical function exists, but Wat Phnom's wall holds a peculiar quirk. Every 54th figure bears a small drilled hole in its forehead. When researchers superimposed the temple's latitude over astronomical charts, they realized these holes mark the exact intervals needed to track Venus's 8-year cyclical appearances, a feature notably absent at other sites. The most tantalizing clue emerged in 2014, when laser scans revealed subsurface etchings beneath each carving, microscopic lines resembling counting tallies. Some align with known eclipse cycles, while others correspond to planting and harvest seasons documented in Khmer agricultural texts. Local rice farmers still consult the wall informally, noting how certain figures catch the light during optimal planting windows. Whether ancient almanac or divine procession, the stones whisper a truth modern science is only beginning to hear. Time isn't just measured here. It's rendered sacred, one slowly turning shadow at a time. Prasat Pri Palalay emerges from Phnom Kulen's dense canopy like a half-whispered secret, its central tower forever caught between worlds, neither fully risen nor completely fallen. Unlike the geometric precision of earlier Khmer temples, this 15th century enigma feels almost organic, as if the jungle itself sculpted its unconventional form. The tower's upper tiers taper abruptly into rough-hewn blocks, their surfaces pocked with chisel marks left mid-stroke. Was this abandonment due to war, shifting religious tides, or something far more intriguing? The answer might lie in the temple's most controversial carvings, panels depicting figures with flowing robes and distinctive headwear that bear uncanny resemblance to Ming Dynasty explorers. One scene shows a group presenting scrolls to a Khmer official, while another captures what appears to be a naval vessel with segmented sails unlike any Southeast Asian design. These weren't just artistic flourishes. Recent pigment analysis revealed traces of Chinese vermilion in the robes, a color derived from cinnabar that Cambodian artists never used independently. What makes pre-Palale truly mesmerizing isn't just its unfinished state, it's the evidence of cultural cross-pollution frozen in stone. The temple's lintels blend classic Khmer floral motifs with Chinese cloud patterns, while the foundation stones incorporate a unique mortaring technique using rice glue mixed with oyster shell lime, a method documented in Fujian province during the same period. Even the layout defies tradition. The main sanctuary faces northwest instead of east, aligning with the compass bearings used by Zheng He's treasure fleets. Could this have been a collaborative project between Khmer builders and Ming engineers? A broken steel discovered in the rubble offers a tantalizing clue. Its surviving fragments mention iron ships from the north and gifts of sky charts. Theories about the temple's abrupt halt range from plausible to poetic. Some scholars point to the Cambodian chronicles of 1431, which describes Siamese armies sacking cities and severing trade routes right as pre-Palale's construction peaked. Others argue the temple's hybrid style sparked a religious backlash. Its statues of the Buddha wear robes folded in the Chinese style, a detail that would have scandalized traditionalists. But local oral traditions tell a different story. Villagers speak of a curse. Workers fled when a lightning strike split the central tower's foundation stone, revealing a cavity filled with mercury and a single golden compass pointing due north. Whether myth or memory, the site remains charged with unease. Even now, birds avoid nesting in its unfinished arches, and the few archaeologists who have camped overnight report vivid dreams of sails in the treetops. Perhaps pre-Palale's greatest lesson lies in its incompleteness. Unlike the polished perfection of Angkor's crown jewels, this temple wears its interruptions proudly. The exposed chisel grooves teach us how towers were shaped before carving began. The stacked but unjoined blocks reveal the precise order of construction. Even the mistakes, a doorway cut too narrow and later widened, a misplaced drill hole filled with lead, offer more insight than a dozen flawless monuments. It stands as a testament not to grandeur, but to the messy human process of creation itself. As the last light fades over Phnom Kulen, the unfinished tower casts a jagged shadow that stretches eastward, not toward Angkor but toward the sea. It's a quiet reminder that history doesn't always end neatly. Sometimes it trails off mid-sentence, leaving us to piece together stories from the spaces between the stones. And sometimes, if we listen closely, those gaps speak louder than the finished work ever could. Deep in the archives of Cambodia's National Museum lies a single crumbling sketch, a 12th century architect's rendering of what appears to be a temple unlike any other. Towering walls of polished black stone, a central spire sheathed in what the inscription calls Night's Own Mirror, and at its heart the piece de resistance, a colossal Buddha carved entirely from obsidian, its surface described as drinking the light. This wasn't just fantasy. Scattered across a 5-acre site northeast of Angkor Thom, archaeologists have uncovered over 200 foundation stones of a structure that never rose, or perhaps one that vanished without a trace. Welcome to the greatest temple the Khmer Empire almost built, or did they? The clues start with those foundation blocks. Unlike the laterite and sandstone used elsewhere, these stones are jet black basalt, a material so dense and difficult to quarry that the Khmer rarely used it for large projects. Their arrangement tells a story, a perfect mandala pattern, matching descriptions from royal chronicles of Jayavarman Roman VII, Temple of Midnight Wisdom. Ground-penetrating radar reveals subterranean chambers radiating outward like spokes, their layout mirroring the petals of a black lotus. But the real smoking gun emerged in 2021 when liDAR scans detected an anomaly at the site's exact center, a circular depression 30 meters wide, its sides unnaturally smooth as if something massive had been lifted straight out of the earth. Then there's the obsidian problem. The nearest natural source of volcanic glass lies over 1,000 kilometers away in Vietnam, yet Angkor-era trade records mention 300 cartloads of black glass arriving from the east in 1194. French archaeologist Etienne Imonier found thin obsidian shards near the site in 1906, initially dismissed as ritual objects until modern spectroscopy matched their chemical signature to Vietnamese volcanic fields. Even more telling, the shards show no tool marks or carvings, their raw materials stockpiled for something enormous. Digital reconstructions paint a breathtaking picture. Using the foundation stones as anchors, 3D modelers recreated a structure that seems to defy physics, its walls angled to reflect the moat's water like a black mirror, creating the illusion of a floating temple. The proposed obsidian Buddha, scaled to Jayavarman's known preference for monumental art, would have stood 30 meters tall. At certain times of day, sunlight filtering through the roof's lattice would have set the statue's surface ablaze with internal fractures, making it appear to glow from within. Imagine standing in that hall as dawn broke, the Buddha igniting like a dying star, its fractured light casting prismatic shadows across walls inlaid with silver constellations. But why would such a masterpiece vanish? Some point to the king's sudden pivot to Buddhism. Perhaps the Hindu elite sabotaged the project. Others note that obsidian, while stunning, is fragile. A single earthquake could have reduced the statue to rubble. Then there's the darkest theory. The temple was completed only to be systematically erased. A 13th century Siamese account mentions a black hall looted for its precious stone, while Portuguese trader Diogo do Couto wrote of locals fearing a cursed idol dismantled by monks. The truth may lie in the stones themselves, specifically their silence. Normally, Khmer foundations bear inscriptions, but these blocks are eerily blank. No dedications, no builder's marks, just smooth black surfaces that swallow even the faintest echo. It's as if the temple's very memory was meant to dissolve. Yet in the quiet of the museum, that ancient architect's sketch still whispers a ghost of grandeur, a shadow of what might have been the empire's most audacious act of devotion. The Black Temple exists where all great mysteries thrive, in the space between the lines of history, waiting for someone to read them aloud. Beneath Cambodia's dense jungle canopy, where roots coil around ruins and vines swallow entire cities whole, modern technology is peeling back layers of time. Recent LiDAR scans, laser pulses slicing through vegetation from aircraft, have uncovered 14 eerie geometric shadows hidden in the landscape, each a ghostly blueprint of potential temples waiting to be explored. These aren't just piles of rubble. The scans reveal foundations with clear ceremonial layouts, causeways leading to vanished gates, and even the faint outlines of moats now filled with centuries of sediment. One particularly massive site near the Thai border shows a sprawling complex with 5 towers arranged in a quincunx pattern, identical to Angkor Wat's sacred geometry. But here's what's chilling. There's not a single historical record of its existence. Archaeologist Dr. Piful Heng, who led the LiDAR survey, describes the findings as a wake-up call to how little we truly know. His team estimates at least 3 of the newly detected sites could rival Bantuy Chh Mar in scale, yet they've remained invisible even to satellite imagery. The reason: some temples aren't just buried, they're camouflaged by nature's perfect alchemy. At one location, the scans showed a laterite platform completely engulfed by a strangler fig, its roots forming a living exoskeleton that shielded the stones from erosion and human eyes for 800 years. Other sites are hidden in plain sight, disguised as natural hills by centuries of soil accumulation. Farmers in Kampong Tom province have long referred to one such mound as the hill that echoes, noting how their plows occasionally strike hollow spaces beneath the earth. The LiDAR confirmed their intuition. Beneath the unassuming slope lies a pyramidal structure with intact staircases, but not all obstacles are botanical. Large swaths of Cambodia's northwest remain littered with landmines from decades of conflict, turning archaeological exploration into a deadly gamble. Dr. Heng's colleague, mine clearance expert Sok Sothia, recounts a 2018 incident where his team uncovered a beautifully carved lintel only to freeze when their metal detectors screamed warnings inches from the artifact. The Khmer Rouge used temple stones as marker points for minefields, he explains. Sometimes the greatest treasures are booby-trapped by history. Political tensions further complicate access. One LiDAR hotspot falls squarely in a disputed zone near the Thai border, where military patrols and bureaucratic red tape have stalled investigations since 2015. A smuggled drone photo from that area shows what appears to be a collapsed gateway adorned with serpent balustrades, but until diplomacy catches up with curiosity, it remains frozen in limbo. The most tantalizing mysteries, though, may lie beyond technology's reach. Dr. Heng's team suspects at least 2 major temple complexes were deliberately built without the usual stone foundations, constructed entirely from perishable materials as shadow sites for esoteric rituals. These wouldn't show up on LiDAR at all, leaving only whispers in local folklore. In Adar Minchi province, elders describe a bamboo palace that appears every 50 years during catastrophic droughts, its location shifting with the monsoon. Whether myth or memory, it's a reminder that some secrets aren't buried, they're woven into the land itself, waiting for the right moment to step back into the light. As expeditions gear up for the dry season, armed with ground-penetrating radar and declassified Cold War aerial photos, one thing's certain: Cambodia's jungle isn't done giving up its ghosts. Every scan, every shovel strike, every farmer's casual observation about an oddly symmetrical pond could rewrite history. The Khmer Empire was far vaster, far stranger than our textbooks ever hinted. And somewhere out there, beneath the green weight of centuries, stones are still dreaming. Imagine standing in a jungle so thick, even sunlight struggles to reach the ground. Now picture seeing straight through it. That's the power of modern archaeology's toolkit. In 2019, a team armed with LiDAR laser pulses fired from aircraft peeled back centuries of Cambodian canopy to reveal Mahendraparvata, a lost city older than Angkor itself. The scans didn't just outline walls, they exposed an entire urban grid: roads, reservoirs, even individual temple foundations hidden beneath the green veil. This wasn't just discovery, it was time travel, but LiDAR is only the first chapter. Ground-penetrating radar now lets archaeologists X-ray the earth without lifting a shovel. At Samba Prey Kuk, this tech uncovered a network of underground workshops where artisans crafted the very statues now standing in museums. The radar's electromagnetic waves revealed hearths still blackened by 8th-century fires, and tool marks on unfinished stone blocks, snapshots of creation frozen mid-chisel. Unlike traditional digs that risk damaging fragile ruins, these scans preserve sites intact while mapping them down to the millimeter. Then there's the silent revolution in AI-assisted text analysis. Ancient Khmer inscriptions, once deciphered painstakingly by human eyes, are now fed into machine learning algorithms that spot patterns no scholar could. A 2022 project at the École Française d'Extrême-Orient used AI to cross-reference thousands of temple texts, uncovering a recurring phrase previously mistranslated as Golden Tower. The corrected reading, Vault of Celestial Measurements, likely referencing lost astronomical observatories. This clue led researchers straight to pre-Con Kampong Svei, where they found alignments matching 12th-century star charts. The real game changer, combining these tools, Satellite imagery identifies suspicious geometric shapes, potential temple footprints, then LiDAR confirms them through vegetation. Drones equipped with thermal cameras detect subtle temperature differences between ancient stone and surrounding soil, flagging buried structures. Finally, AI cross-checks these finds against historical records, predicting where to look next. It's how a team in 2023 pinpointed a ghost temple near Tonle Sap, a site mentioned in Chinese trader Zhu Dogwan's journals but erased from local memory. The drones found discolored patches in rice fields. The radar revealed laterite foundations. The AI matched the layout to Zhu's sketches. Yet for all their precision, these tools can't replace human intuition. At Phnom Kulen, LiDAR missed a key chamber until a farmer mentioned his grandfather's tales of echoing steps near a particular boulder. The team rescanned, and there it was, a hidden stairwell masked by dense vegetation. Technology opens doors, but sometimes the knock comes from stories passed down through generations. The future of temple hunting lies in this dance between laser beams and legends, algorithms and elders, each revealing what the other can't see. The jungle hasn't given up its secrets, it's just waiting for us to ask the right questions. The stone faces of Banteay Chh Ma stare into the jungle with hollow eyes, not just from centuries of erosion, but from the brutal scars of modern greed. In 1970, this sprawling 12th century temple boasted over 200 intricate carvings of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion. Today, only 38 remain in place. The rest were hacked away with power tools, their severed edges raw as fresh wounds. This isn't ancient history. It's happening right now. Thieves armed with angle grinders slip past guards under monsoon rains, reducing masterpieces to rubble in minutes, leaving behind ghostly outlines where gods once stood. The trail of these stolen treasures leads to polished glass cases half a world away. A headless Vishnu statue from Angkor now graces a private collector's penthouse in Hong Kong. A sandstone dancer plundered from Prasat Privihir was traced to a Paris auction house before diplomatic pressure forced its return. But the real shock is how brazen the system operates. Looters sell to middlemen for pennies, sometimes just $50 per carving, who then forge export papers labeling the artifacts as reproductions. By the time these pieces reach European or American galleries, their provenance has been laundered through 3 or 4 countries, their value skyrocketing to millions. Cambodia fights back with forensic archaeology and sheer persistence. At the forefront is Brad Gordon, head of the investigative team that recovered a looted 10th century statue from Sotheby's in 2013. His weapon, a humble plaster cast. When Gordon's team matched gashes on the statue's base to broken fragments still clinging to a Angkor temple wall, the evidence was undeniable. Now, laser scanning takes this further, creating 3D models that catalog every chip and crack like fingerprint files. These digital twins are shared with Interpol and museums worldwide, making it harder for looted art to hide in plain sight. The human cost is staggering. At Phnom Kulen, villagers recount watching armed men bulldoze entire shrines at night, loading trucks with carvings while locals feared intervening. Some temple guardians have paid with their lives, like the keeper of Prasat Ta Prom Kel, murdered in 1994 after confronting looters, yet hope flickers in unexpected places. Farmers near Siem Reap recently uncovered a cache of buried artifacts while digging a well. Instead of selling, they called archaeologists. The recovered pieces, now displayed in their village school, bear witness to a growing movement where communities become custodians, not victims. Every returned artifact carries whispers of redemption. When the Metropolitan Museum surrendered 2 looted warrior statues in 2023, Cambodian conservators noticed something miraculous. The broken edges still held traces of original mortar, enough to reunite them with their plinths at Angkor after 9 centuries apart. The fit was perfect, like puzzle pieces snapped back into place by unseen hands. Each homecoming stitches torn history back together, one stolen god at a time. But the battle isn't just about reclaiming the past. It's about denying thieves the future, because every sculpture still standing is a story still breathing, a prayer still echoing through stone. The jungle doesn't just hide Cambodia's temples, it consumes them. At Ta Prohm, the very roots that cradle its towers also strangle them, their serpentine fingers prying apart sandstone blocks with glacial patience. This isn't decay, it's an ongoing battle between nature and human legacy, where every monsoon season delivers fresh assaults. Towering silk cotton trees, their roots thicker than temple pillars, weave through galleries like living scaffolding, their weight-cracking lintels carved with celestial dancers. Conservationists face an impossible choice: cut the roots and risk collapsing structures held together by them, or let the jungle continue its slow feast. But here's the twist: some teams are turning the enemy into an ally. Enter the Living Root Bridges Project, an audacious experiment blending ancient Khmer ingenuity with modern ecology. Inspired by living bridges in Meghalaya, India, where villagers train fig roots across rivers, archaeologists at Ta Prohm are guiding new routes along predetermined paths. Using biodegradable coconut fiber ropes, they redirect strangler figs away from fragile carvings, coaxing them to form natural supports over unstable corridors. The process is agonizingly slow. Roots grow just centimeters per year, but early results are staggering. One reinforced passage near the temple's eastern gate now bears the weight of collapsing masonry entirely on living roots, their bark fusing with stone in a symbiotic embrace. This isn't just preservation, it's collaboration with the jungle itself. Yet roots are just one front in this war. Climate change has rewritten the rules of temple survival. Rising groundwater from intensified monsoons seeps into foundations, dissolving the lime mortar that's held bricks together for centuries. At Beng Melia, entire galleries slump like wet cardboard after record floods in 2021 saturated the soil. The solution: a revival of Khmer hydraulic engineering. Teams are excavating long, clogged drainage channels originally designed to whisk rainwater away and lining them with porous laterite, mimicking the empire's own flood control systems. The genius lies in the material. This volcanic rock filters water slowly, preventing erosion while maintaining the humidity that actually preserves delicate carvings. But perhaps the most insidious threat is invisible. Rising temperatures have triggered explosive algae growth on temple surfaces, their acidic secretions etching away at sandstone faces already weakened by centuries of weathering. At Banteay Esray, where pink sandstone carvings are as fine as lace, conservators wage daily war with custom probiotics. Scientists isolate native bacteria from deep within the temple's own stone's microbes that naturally outcompete destructive algae, then culture them into biodegradable sprays. It's a delicate dance. Apply too little and the algae returns, too much and the stone's patina, built up over generations, could vanish forever. The race against time isn't just about stopping loss, it's about redefining what preservation means. At Angkor Wat, lasers now map every inch of bas-reliefs, creating millimeter-perfect 3D models that allow restorers to print replacement fragments with stone composite 3D printers. Meanwhile, at Precon, drones equipped with thermal cameras detect hidden moisture pockets before they cause collapses. Even local communities are joining the fight. Farmers near Kokur have switched to drought-resistant crops to reduce groundwater pumping, while children in Siem Reap schools monitor temple lichen growth as citizen scientists. These sites have survived empires and invasions, but their greatest test is now. The solutions: emerging root bridges, probiotic cleaners, living databases of digital twins aren't just saving stones. They're forging a new covenant between past and future, where technology and tradition intertwine as tightly as those relentless jungle roots. Every rescued carving, every stabilized corridor whispers the same urgent truth: preservation is no longer about freezing time. It's about learning to dance with it. These 30 temples are whispers, fragments of a conversation between stone and jungle that's been unfolding for centuries. Yet for all their grandeur, they're just the first page of a story still being written. Beneath every moss-covered wall and half-buried causeway, Cambodia's earth pulses with more secrets. LiDAR scans hint at lost cities, farmers' plows strike submerged carvings, monks recite legends of golden libraries still waiting in the dark. What we've uncovered so far is only the prologue. But discovery comes with responsibility. Every footstep across these ancient stones leaves an imprint, sometimes literal. The same tourism that funds preservation can also accelerate decay when unchecked. Ethical travel isn't just about sticking to marked paths or avoiding flash photography. It's about recognizing that these temples aren't backdrops for selfies, but living classrooms where history breathes. When you hire a local guide, you're not just getting stories. You're helping fund guardians who have spent generations protecting these sites. When you buy handmade souvenirs from village cooperatives, you're ensuring looters don't become the only profitable option for struggling families. Archaeologists, too, need more than curiosity to keep peeling back the jungle's layers. Organizations like Cambodia's Apsara Authority battle impossible odds racing against climate change, illegal logging, and black market syndicates with drones and ground scans as their only shields. Supporting their work doesn't require grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as sharing a documentary, donating to a crowd-funded dig, or choosing tour operators who prioritize conservation over crowds. As the sun sets over Angkor's silhouette, casting long shadows that stretch toward Vietnam's coastline, it's impossible not to wonder what other empires left behind. Just across the border, the ghostly towers of the Champa Kingdom rise from coastal dunes, their sandstone glowing like embers, their stories intertwined with the Khmer's own. These were rivals, trading partners, sometimes even allies, and just like Cambodia's temples, they hold mysteries begging to be uncovered, but that's a journey for next time. For now, let these 30 temples remind you, the past isn't behind us. It's beneath our feet, whispering through the roots of banyan trees, waiting for the right moment to speak again.